Welcome to K21Academy. Today, our expert instructors will be discussing about Ingress Controller, your gateway to managing traffic within Kubernetes environment. Just like traffic cops for your network, these controllers play an important role in redirecting incoming requests to the appropriate internal service, ensuring your applications run smoothly without a hitch. In this video, we are bringing in a seasoned Ingress expert to explore how these controllers streamlines operation by mapping domain names to IP addresses, routing traffic, and even eliminating the need for complex load balancing solutions. Also, there is a surprise for you in the last. Let's look into the video.
Ingress control it is used for if you have a multiple applications and you want to route the traffic across those different application, then you can configure the Kubernetes ingress controller there. So that's the purpose is used. If I have application, usually what I do, I create application and then externally I route it by using maybe proxy on premises. If I'm in the cloud, so the cloud has there something it is called load balancer there. Through the load balancer, the traffic come from the external world to my applications there. If I create for each application load balancer, so that's going to be a bit costly or unmanageable there. Okay, so it's good to be have some kind of solution there, and that is called your ingress controller. So it will help you to configure the Kubernetes ingress controller here. So let's talk about that one. So we'll see Kubernetes ingress controller here. What is exactly ingress? Ingress YAML configurations. When do you need ingress and ingress controller there? Okay. So usually when we have a cluster there, guys, when you have a cluster, okay, so we write internally if I want to pass the traffic. Okay. So we are able to locally from the system able to access that. Okay. We create a different type of services such as a node port or cluster port. We access internally. But if in case you want to access from the outside world, then how it is going to open, that we'll see here. So example here, external services versus ingress here. Okay. I have here my application on my cluster running that my app that is into pod. Okay. That's a pod, the name of my app. And in order to expose this application to the outside world, what I have to do, I have to write a service, and this service I have to map to the somewhere using external source there. So this is how we route the traffic to the our application there. Okay, and the externally means like you can put it your IP address of your system, and then you put it your port number. That's how it is going to be allowed to route the traffic into your app from the external world. If you want to be map with the domain name, then we have to purchase. You have to have a domain like a map my-app.com or whatever you have a applications there. Okay, you have to purchase a domain and you have to map with that particular public IP address, and then it is going to be route the traffic to your external world to the internal world. Internal world, you can see here how traffic it is happens internally. So just if you forward my-app.com, so this will goes to the first to your ingress controller. My app ingress controller, and my app ingress controller, it is configured in such a way to there are a number of rules are configured, and then the host path base, and that's the if request comes for this one, the pod 1, so it will be forwarded to the pod 1. If request come pod 2, or we can call it this is my app 1, or maybe you can top service A or service B is there. So if you want to forward traffic, so simple one application is there, so that is simply it is work like you type in the browser and then it will go to that request to ingress control. Ingress control will forward to the your service, internal service, and then it will be route the traffic to your actual pod there. That's how it's going to work. This is how you write a definition there for that. Okay, so you put it the service, which is going to be kind is going to be service and name of your service. Then we type the selector, labels, and all those things, and we give it here type. The important thing is here type. So that is a load balancer and ports, which we mapped it. So internally, this application is working on the port number 8080. How you want to expose to the your cluster here from there if you want to allow to access from the outside world. So we use it. This app will be mapped to the 35010 port number. And then we use this IP address of our cluster and then pass the port. This is a way to be access our application from the system, from outside system. If you are talking about the other way, ingress controller. So ingress controller, how it works. Ingress, the kind is equal to, it will come the ingress here, and then it is the name of your ingress, the spec, rules you can define. If the traffic comes to this ingress, so in ingress, there is a rules are defined. Okay, so if it directly comes to the myapp.com, then he will forward to the traffic to the my app internal dot service. This service, whatever application is mapped, that will be visible and that will be forwarded and it will be displayed there. So that is forward request to the internal service. This is how it's going to be forward the services to the internal services where you type the myapp.com. Okay. If you have another applications, okay, this telling actually this path means nothing but actually you put the URL there. So forward request to the internal service here, and when you hit this myapp.com, so this comes to the HTTP and then a path. What is defined that the path it is defined here, that is myapp.com, which is this one, and this is going to forward your backend service, which is called the service name.myapp.internal service, and there it's going to be a route your traffic in order to access that. Well, this is not something, this HTTP and this HTTP, there is no relation. Okay, there is no kind of relationship. So this HTTP means maybe you're talking about this one, not. So this is used for just to be defined here. If the request comes myapp.com, so that HTTP is just used as part of this one, and this will go to the path and whatever backend services you are defined, maybe service A, service B, so that there will be. But here is no relationship in this HTTP and this HTTP. Then it comes a ingress and internal service configurations here. So if you have that application which is my app running here and that is exposed on the my service, so ingress controller will forward traffic here to the internal service, and service internal service will forward traffic to the your pod. And there is a definition for your this one. So ingress and internal service configuration. For one, you can see here. So in this case, I have a definitions here. If the traffic is forwarded to the myapp.com, we return that forward. If myapp.com someone type on the browser, so that forward the request to the backend or route the request here, which is myapp-internal-service. As you can see here, myapp-internal-service, and this is mapped to the another app there, which is you can see my app is there, maybe in the backend running. Then that's forwarded to this port number. So as you can see here, port to port this number. If you type here entry point means nothing but actually it is allowed to enter in your cluster. So that is myapp.com is there, and that's myapp.com is going to be forward query to the backend, and backend it will map to the services there. So need to be have a valid host config, valid domain address there. You should have there, and map the domain name to the node IP address, and which is just a entry point there. How to configure ingress control in your Kubernetes cluster? So you need an implementation for ingress, which is ingress controller, that it is going to evaluate and process your ingress rule. Like if the request comes, so first it will be received by your ingress controller. Ingress controller will forward that request to the my app ingress, and then it will be routed to the internal services. That's how it is going to work, guys. This is again definition which is explained here, which ingress control is there. So that is mapping to your internal service, backend services there. So whenever request comes to the ingress, it is going to evaluate all the rules and manage the redirection and entry point to your cluster. That's the basically job of your ingress controller. Okay. Apart from that, Kubernetes ingress, so which we use it in Kubernetes ingress, that is the Nginx ingress control is there. So there are many third-party ingress are there. Third-party ingress controllers are available, like Tariq or something is there. You could, that is also again, but we preferred mostly the Nginx ingress controller there. If you are working into the cloud, so they have their own services there, okay, such as AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure or Linode there. So they have their own service in order to, they offer their own type of ingress controller that this is which is out of box. Okay, so if you go to work into that cloud environment, okay, the out of box Kubernetes solutions you can call. We talking about ingress controller also. There is a bare metal is there on premises, or cloud is there also, or you can virtualize your load balancer there, cloud service provider there. They use it their own virtualized load balancer, which we call example. You can see here. You can configure. So what happens? Maybe you create your XYZ application that will be load balance. That will go to the load balancer. Load balancer will forward the ingress controller, and then my app ingress, and then it will go to internal service and app. That will you can configure it in a different ways there. If it is different environment is there. Okay. Advantage, you don't have to implement load balancer by yourself here, because the cloud provider provide there as an inbuilt service into their environment. You should also deploy your ingress controller bare metal, means on premises. You need to configure some kind of entry point, such as a HA proxy or proxy server. You can either inside the cluster or outside the cluster as a separate server as an entry point for that in order to route the traffic to your internal app. Okay, as you can see here, separate server we have to maintain. Okay, if the traffic comes, so this proxy server will forward traffic to that Ingress controller, and then Ingress controller will be. So this is bare metal, you can call. Separate server is there, public IP address and on open ports and entry point will be cluster will be configured there. So that's how it works. So you type map.com, then it goes to the HA proxy. HA proxy will forward to Ingress controller, and into Ingress controller it is going to evaluate all the rules and then route the traffic to your exact app there. So this is based on the Minikube, but we don't have Minikube base. We are using the cluster here. So install Ingress controller there. So you can create your Ingress. You need to install Ingress controller, and then you have to create rules for that. Okay, that's all about your Ingress controller. Ingress controller, in shortly, nothing but it will route the traffic to your different applications. Okay, maybe in your cluster you have 2-3 different applications, and for each application it doesn't makes to create a service load balancer, which is going to be costly, and that's not a feasible solution, you can say. So feasible solution, you can say that that is a Ingress controller. Ingress controller will help you to route the traffic to the different app by using the rules there. They create a rules host path based rule, like in backend when receive traffic, so it will go to the, like you say that myapp.com, then by default will be hit that specific app pod. But tomorrow you create like in my another app 1 app 2, so you can type my app /app1, then your Ingress control will forward that specific rule set which rule you set into host path. If tomorrow your third application is there, my app 2, so you type myapp.com and app 2, so this will forward to there. So always Ingress control, it is going to evaluate the rule based on what request it comes there. Okay, that's what it is called, the Ingress control, guys.
Well, this was our export, and thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the video. Now all you have to do is just click the link in the description below, or if you are just starting out, just type K21Academy.com/K8S02 and you will be redirected to a page like this. Now all you have to do is you enter your name, enter email ID, enter phone number, and click on register now. That's how our thank you page looks like. You can add this to your Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, and I promise this is something that you don't want to miss. So go ahead, click on the link and step into the world where learning knows no boundaries. Till then, keep enjoying. I'll see you in the next video.